This is Martin Auer speaking again from Science Sales Academy, and this is video number 113, and it is about B2B versus B2C sales, the 5 most important differences. B2B sales is a term used for whatever sales situation of a company with another company or with an institution. An example, if as a customer no private end user is involved, which would then be B2C, so business to customer. The term B2B sales covers 3 main categories when classified according to the nature of the customer. First, sales to resellers, so distributors. Second, sales to other companies. And third, sales to institutions. While in the B2C sector, we have a private end user involved who buys the product for her or his own private purposes, and this private end customer makes the purchase alone and makes the decision for himself. In the B2B sales, in most cases, we have to deal with commercial facilities. They purchase the product for a different purpose, namely to resell it or to use it in the context of its own commercial activity. In addition, the decision-making process in B2B sales is completely different from that in B2C sales, because not only a single person is involved in it. This distinction, which is simple at first glance, has a great impact in practice, thus rendering the principles of successful sales significantly different between B2B and B2C. One of the biggest mistakes in B2B sales is the use of standard sales methods from the B2C area. This has something to do with the fact that B2C sales methods may simply be unsuitable for the B2B sector. It is easy to understand that selling a homeowner's insurance to a young family father should have a different methodology than for sales of a mass spectrometer to a group leader of the Max Planck Institute. The main issue, however, is that B2C sales methods do not cover the major and most important area in B2B sales, and this is precisely the most important criterion for B2B sales. This is the complexity on the customer side. The fact that in B2B sales, within one single sales project, we are dealing with completely different types of customers. Purchaser roles, drivers and interests, all of which have to be adequately covered and addressed in their complexity. Here are the 5 most important differences between B2B sales and B2C sales. First one is generation of information about competitors. In B2B sales, information about competitors or competition-relevant information about their products is generally much more difficult to obtain than in private consumer markets. The reason for that is that this information is much easier to access in private end-user markets and is generally openly available without problems. As a result, many sales organizations and distributors in B2B sales still have a rather fuzzy idea of how the line of argumentation and the procedures of their competitors look like, and therefore are operating in their sales project without having a real strategic competitive plan. However, on the other hand, this means that one's own competition-relevant information can also be concealed much more from the competitor than would be the case in private and consumer markets. In B2B sales, therefore, the topic of market research, information management and regular exchange of experience is of great importance on the part of the salesperson and the sales organization. The second difference is complexity of the customer relationship, the acquisition process and the decision-making in B2B sales. This is perhaps the most significant and far-reaching difference, because in B2B sales, in contrast to the B2C area, not only one person is involved in the acquisition process and also in the decision-making process, instead there are usually several. And in addition, they have different functions, for example, the purchaser roles. They have different characters, for example, the customer types. And they have different drivers for the purchase. Within one and the same project in B2B sales, we can face a variety of different situations. This means, firstly, that the one fits for everything sales talk in the B2B sales does not exist. And secondly, the interpersonal factor and the social competence of the salesperson is even more important. This applies in particular to the whole area of key account management. The DISC model offers a very valuable and practical tool for dealing with this diversity of types of people. Number 3, long time frame from customer acquisition to order. While the sales cycle, the duration from acquisition to order are relatively straightforward in a B2C situation, they can take much longer for projects in B2B sales. Months and years are not uncommon. In the B2B sales department, the filling, the maintenance and the administration of the sales pipeline are therefore of much greater importance. For this reason, salespersons and sales organizations need to think more long-term and more strategically than in the B2C sector. Number 4, separation of buyer and user in B2B sales. A very special feature of B2B sales is the separation of buyers or payers and users. In private end user markets, the user is usually also the one who pays. In B2B markets, on the other hand, usage of the new product and budget responsibility are very often separated. In most cases, this separation of users and budget responsibility is even wanted by the customer organizations. What is behind this is the attempt to bring more objectivity into the decision-making process. Number 5, the professionalized purchaser. In many cases, professional purchasers are involved in projects in the B2B sales, which in many aspects represent a more or less equivalent counterpart to us salespersons. They are often at least partially paid for on the basis of their negotiated discounts, and they are well trained and experienced in purchasing and negotiating, because they don't do anything else. Again here, the challenges for us salespersons are much higher than in the B2C sector. Do you want to learn more about this topic? Then I recommend you reading the book Paradigm Shift in Sales: Identification of Key Success Factors for the New B2B Sales World. Interested? It is available on Amazon. Please subscribe to my channel and never miss a new video here on the right bottom side. It's totally free of cost for you and there is no further obligation whatsoever. For you, it is only one single mouse click, and for me, well, it helps a lot. Thank you very much. And as your personal starting point to more effectiveness in everything what has to do with people, just click on this little eye at the right top side. Here is free for download your personal DISC booklet, your most important foundation for success in strategic sales in life science and biotech market. You have questions? Just contact me. My contact information is on my homepage, thesciencesalesacademy.com. Thanks a lot for listening and watching. Take care and see you again next time.